Hey, Sean here, and this will be my guide slash commentary to the Mythic Soulrender Dormizade encounter. For this fight, a few things I just want to quickly cover. The best build to run on this fight, I would say, over everything else for boss damage, for add damage, and just being the most useful an Elemental Shaman can be on this fight to the raid, it's Aftershock Storm Alley Primal Elementalist with the Earthquake Leggo. You can play Seeds on this fight, perfectly fine. It's not as great as you might think, just because it doesn't really give you extra Storm Allies on the ads, so you're not really gaining anything for it, and having that extra modifier on your Earthquake where the damage increase the ads take is just far superior. And with Storm Alley, you'll actually do more boss damage than the Earthquake build, unless you're doing really weird stuff and not holding and pulling for the ads, which at that point there's no reason to even bring you, because your job on this fight should be to take care of the ads. But obviously, I've actually never even played Storm Alley on this fight. I've always had guild leaders and raid leaders who don't quite understand Elemental Shaman, and I'm personally not a person that will make a fuss over my damage. It's kind of why I'm in a good guild. So I just kind of do what the raid leader says, do whatever I can to help the raid, even though I'm capable of doing far more damage. So I recommend, in general, playing the Storm Alley build, but in this VOD, you're going to see me running Elemental Blast, Moat, and Ice Fury with Earthquake Leggo. Still, I don't think you should ever run Lava Burst Leggo on this fight, the Wind Speakers build. Never run that on this fight. There's literally no point. If you're being forced to run that, at that point, there's no reason to even bring you, because there's classes that can do what you do better while still cleaving the ads. So, because to hit the ads, you kind of have to pull resources and hold some things, so it kind of offsets your CDs, which means the best way to do more single target would be to never even basically hit the ads, as far as you're concerned, because you'll never have Stormkeeper out for them if you're just using it on the boss on CD. But yeah, that's how I would say you should play this fight. You should definitely play Storm Alley. Definitely bring a badge to this if you have it. Solar Lighting Ruby's fine too, if you have that, or you can run the good old Gland plus the K2 trinket. Those are all good. If you're running Storm Alley, Karain or Dreamweaver is fine. I kind of tend to go towards Karain, is a bit more consistent, especially on this fight because there's so much movement, but Dreamweaver is definitely the best for your Storm Alley, but I would say for your earlier ones, as you're getting more comfortable with the fight, definitely run Karain for this fight. Okay, so I'll show you, I think the most recent reclear we did of Mythic Soulrender. So the most important thing here is you do want to Stormkeeper at 10 seconds. You do this on a few fights in the raid on Mythic, and that's just so that you can still do with Stormkeepers, but that'll actually line it up with the ad spawn, since they spawn about 30 seconds in is when they spawn, and then by the time they're grouped up, your Stormkeeper's back up. It might be a little bit late depending on how many DKs you have and just where that spawn, but in general, you'll still get use out of the Stormkeeper as long as you do it 10 seconds before. You saw that I didn't badge, but you should definitely badge as well with the Stormkeeper always. So beyond that, you're just going to play this kind of normal. If you get brands on this fight, it does kind of suck because you have to move and stay on top of the ads, and we're not really good at the micro movements. Well, we are, but it's hard to explain if you haven't done the fight yet, but it just really sucks if you get brand. It kind of slows your Maelstrom generation a little bit, just the way this goes. If you don't have DKs, you should be moving around and thunderstorming things in. I've had to do that when we didn't have as many DKs on. And then just the way you play the ads is, of course, try to go into... So when the Overlord comes out, you still want to do damage to it. You should already have an Echoes proc ready by the time the Overlord spawns, just the way your Maelstrom will naturally play out. Don't spend it on the Overlord. Just use another Earthshock, keep refreshing it. That way when the ads spawn, you can instantly drop one on them. And then usually right after that happens, your Stormkeeper will come back up. You use that, do the Stormkeeper rotation for AoE, and then you just kind of repeat that flow the whole rest of the fight. After the first set of ads, everything will just naturally line up. If you get a Torment, the cones in the middle of when you're killing the ads, and you have to the brands have to move away, then don't drop your EOGS from range, because you need to kind of hold it for when they get back on. It's fine to just do like an Earth Shock instead. That way you like keep refreshing it, but you're not like having to build a whole charge back up, if you know what I mean. Because that just takes way longer and you won't have it in time. So yeah, you'll see me do the same thing here. You can see me like kind of delay my Stormkeeper a little bit because it doesn't matter as much, and we're kind of waiting for them to get back on the ads. And then I'll drop, make sure you moat your Earthquakes as well if you're able to. And then if you're not able to moat them, then you want to instantly drop them like I did there. And then the way you'll play the intermission is just drop one rush when you're assigned to, and prioritize surviving over everything else. This is obviously a really good time to Spirit Walkers, and Ghost Wolf is insane for this intermission. You pretty much can't die to this unless you're like actually trolling. And of course, if you have Soul Shape, then that means you can fit in some extra casts, and then just blink out last second. But besides that, just listen to where you're supposed to go. Someone usually calls out the cones in pretty much every guild, so you know that you'll have that part covered. And yeah, if you are assigned to break a chain, it can be very dangerous depending on the chain that you get. Usually the third chain in the order is the most dangerous by like a long shot, just because sometimes there can be swirlies like preventing you from going into the gateway. And also you're just taking two hits of the thing before, what do you call it, before you actually can take the gate. So in that case, you definitely want to, if on your set of chains, I definitely recommend Earth Allying and Astral Shifting both. Make sure you have those up every time for your chain break. That way, and also feel free to Health Pot Hellstone, and you can see me knocking the ads there, being a good little shaman, because we didn't have like the big grip for that one. So yeah, those are kind of the best tips. Like I said, once you do the Stormkeeper on 10 seconds and then line it up afterwards, it's pretty much lined up just naturally the whole rest of the fight. And after that, it just comes down to pulling resources for everything. I don't recommend flame shocking the agonizers. You can flame shock Overlord, but it's not really worth it. Flame shock agonizers. You just want to use that GCD on more chain lightnings in general. And the benefit of extra lava burst isn't really worth it, in my opinion. So yeah, that's just kind of how you play Mythic Soulrender. Not really hard fight, pretty fun to play, especially if you get to play Storm Ellie. Unfortunately, if you do play Storm Ellie on this fight, if you get the chance to, just make sure you look at some logs, see the optimal time to actually cast Storm Ellie, and just like go on Warfire Vlogs and figure that out, since unfortunately I couldn't tell you how to do it on this video. But yeah, and then of course make sure you do interrupt if you need to, look out for those, and drop a cap totem as well. Those usually help out. And only other thing is also hex, if there is like a hex that needs to be gone out, if like your guild doesn't have as many hard CCs as other guilds. But yeah, pretty simple fight. So we'll be moving on to, I believe we've already done Painsmith, so Guardian's not going to get done because that's full single target burn. So probably we'll do Fate Scribe, I guess is next. Yeah, Fate Scribe and KT is the only ones left. So yep, see you then. Thanks for watching. Peace.